Oh, what is going on, traders? All right, so just want to remake this video here. This is my system that I've created, um, and it's based off the Fibonacci sequence and the ratios. And yes, I called it Fibonacci, not Fibonacci. That's just where I kind of learned it from. It was like a European kind of Italian guy. Always called it Fibonacci, so it just kind of stuck with me. But as you can see here, this is the point of origin data, and I'm on the daily chart. To make it easier, you could always do it on the monthly or whatever, but you do need that point of origin data just to get started. And you can see we've got that point of origin data since the beginning of time on TradingView here. And we've got the lowest low and the highest, the previous swing high to that. Now, I've just plotted out the Fibonacci, kind of an extensions from there, where the only relevant things to worry about, really don't need the additional ones on there, but the most relevant ones is the 1, which is coming in at 18 cents, and the 1.618 coming in at 28 cents. Now from there, I've just continued on the Fibonacci sequence. So 18 cents plus 28 cents, you get 46 cents there. Continuing that on, you would have 46 cents plus your 28 cents, gives you the 74 cents, and continue it, right? So 74 plus 46, you get $1.20, etc., etc., until the end of time, and you get that Fibonacci growth, right? You can really see that growth coming in the ratios. And interestingly enough, when you switch over to a logarithmic scale, that growth is basically one-to-one measurements there. So really cool kind of just a thing about the Fibonacci sequence, how that plots out. But what the bread and butter of it is here is within those levels, we're going to be using the Gann box, and inside the Gann box, we're using the Fibonacci ratio. So a nice kind of combination of the Fibonacci sequence and the Fibonacci ratios, right? So we got the 0.236, 0.382, 618, and the 764. And obviously the 0 and the 1 is just going to be in between these two levels. So you can see here, just from where I plotted it, you can keep plotting. It's just kind of an overlay for your chart. And where you would plot it, I just started from the season. So it goes from season to season. So within the 4 seasons, we've got here showing is the December to March. So that's the winter solstice into the vernal equinox of March 20th to June 21st. And then we've got the summer solstice, June 21st to September 23rd, which is actually where the sun is then at 0 degrees for our autumnal equinox. The sun has made its kind of complete rotation, or that's where we would start its degrees around the sun. So then we've got our autumnal equinox to the winter solstice, and it just continues on again, right? Winter solstice to the vernal equinox, and the vernal equinox to the summer solstice, and it just continues on, right? And what you're looking for is for price to be riding that z-axis. You can see, and even back here a bit, it would have continued on down here and riding this kind of to the upside. But you can see we're just kind of riding this z-axis to the upside. Once that's done, we then drop into this z-axis. We then ride this to the upside. And since that all-time high that Bitcoin's put in, most recent high, we've then dropped straight down this z-axis and just catching them along the way, right? You can see every little interaction just kind of stopping along the way, catching us there. A nice, as we move up this z-axis into this other one, just straight down into it to continue on lower and eventually making contact with that previous z-axis that we were on up here, right? And you can see there's like a nice curve that takes place within the geometry there of the levels. Again, just riding that z-axis to the upside, riding it back down here, looking like we're breaking lower. We've since broken lower there. We're riding this one here. But key time cycles, the time cycles of those seasons are very key time cycles to consider. I mean, you can see back here, basically dead on. We've rallied. This seasonal work, we literally dropped into it. We rallied. These time cycles are very key time cycles to consider as well. And that's kind of what I'm hoping is going on. If you look, I do have some other kind of harmonics laid out on the chart here. Some harmonics are in line here, just some nice harmonic geometry going on, which could indicate that this is kind of a stopping point for Bitcoin, and it could very well be a potential reversal. Keep in mind though, I mean, I do have some predictions that would bring us a little bit lower through some general wave sequences, but this is a really nice place to be considering a buy. Anyways, so and that's really what I want to make this about, is just to, again, we're using those Fibonacci sequence levels, or the x-axis. For our x-axis is going to be the levels, and the y-axis is the time. And what we're engaging on is that z-axis that gets created through the Fibonacci ratios, right? So we're getting involved on that middle z-axis that's created. And just generally speaking, say Bitcoin were to recover here, we should be seeing a strong motion off of this z-axis where we might kind of ride this up. But ultimately, we're looking to engage this kind of thing. This z-axis here would just kind of be the next level up. That's going to be kind of your where you begun. And price could very well bounce around here, come up to something like that, into these this wisekoff work of the auto rally points, and we've got a weekly auto rally here. We may see some sideways behavior coming in here, but just that's kind of the general gist of it, is you're looking to engage on these z-axes and these time axes as well. Just me personally, I was actually able to get into a nice little buy position back here, with the hope that we would rally into this z-axis, which we've since done. I am kind of pushing it though. I'm going to hold. Generally, I would take a nice little profit and probably reverse, but just with the potential of the completed harmonic patterns, and Wyckoff's other work there, the point and figure chart does show that it was 6, and even back here it was showing that 16,250 would be a nice completion point. We've since and just recently kind of dropped into those figures back here. So I'm hoping that potentially this time cycle is a nice cycle to the upside. And I do, just yesterday's candle closed higher there. I would like to see it continue higher, but again, we're kind of right on that cycle, or we're right on that z-axis. So either direction's good here. I mean, to keep it super general, right? The trend is your friend. We've been down. We're on a z-axis. There's, could very well continue itself lower. And if it is dropping lower, this z-axis here would be something to consider, right? Riding it down there, possibly even something like that. That's very dramatic, though. Look at those figures, well below 4K. I think we're done here. I think this is going to be our kind of accumulation distribution period within here, this sideways action. And I do think that Bitcoin's putting in those lows off of that, whether you want to try to clock waves in there, however you want to view that. I prefer Wyckoff's work for general consolidation distribution periods, but that would be the end game. Generally, if this is long again, what you can do is just kind of take your Fibonacci levels, right? So we've made it up to here. If price is long, your bare minimum target would be this 76,000, but realistically, getting yourself up another level, next targets there are at 124,000. Just real quick though, if we do pull up Bitcoins, and it's always good to have a nice broad market analysis. That's the technicals, right? The technical analysis. This is the fundamentals that we're seeing here now. Bitcoin's stock to flow chart, where it's been on par since back there in 2010. With the halving dates. So typically, the halving date comes in on the purple, and that's usually when price rallies. But if you look, it's these dark blue points, which is basically where price is right now. It's in these figures here. It's in these blue points when price generally puts in, whoops, what did I do there? Let me just refresh that. So it's generally these blue points here where Bitcoin puts in its low before rallying and really kind of solidifies that general trending direction once the halving date comes in. So, the kind of RSI down here at the bottom is showing super oversold, right? It's well below there. This is a great low to be getting involved. Even if it were to continue a little bit lower, not a big deal. That's where money management comes in, right? Don't be putting the house on one position where if it moves just a little hair, if it moves just a little bit down here, you've been blown out of your position. That's where money management's key, especially when trying to call a reversal, when trying to call a bottom or a top. You need to have that wiggle room a little bit. And then in that case, if say price starts to rally, you can try to build a position in on here or maybe on another time cycle. Things like that, right? And just through wisekoff's work, I would not at all be surprised. In a perfect world, I'd like to see price come up in here and maybe solidify itself onto this weekly auto rally point before a continuation higher, right? But just trying to build my positions. In a perfect world, Bitcoin continues higher and we're just building positions the whole time. But back here on the fundamentals, the stock to flow chart, which is used across other markets as well for anything that has a finite resource. And Bitcoin does have that finite resource of 20 million Bitcoins that can be mined. And it's when that halving date comes in, it literally chops in half the reward for mining. So it becomes more rare, thus driving the price higher. Supply and demand, right? The supply becomes less, and thus that cranks up the demand. But you can see here as of May 26th, 2025, or you can go a little bit before that, April 20th of 2025, Bitcoin's projected at around 488,000, right? If you were to take that kind of high point there, it's showing us figures as high as like 540, 545,000, right? 549,000, 550. So some really ridiculous numbers in there. My kind of end game would be that kind of 500K zone, where I certainly wouldn't want to be pushing any further than that and expecting some drawdown. Just like we've seen back here, we get drawdown on this sideways behavior, drawdown. Interesting times though to see what is Bitcoin going to do once those last coins are mined. But anyways, I just wanted to make this more about my seasonal Fibonacci system using the x-axis with the Fibonacci sequence and the y-axis just with the seasons, right? And within those seasons, you're laying the Fibonacci ratios. So it's a nice complement of x, y, and z, trying to plot out where price is going to go, which you can see historically here, it's been on point. Just hoping that continues here. But anyways, I'll wrap this up here. Hope everybody's doing good out there. Stay safe. Peace.